What is going on, family? How is everybody doing? I hope you have your libations. I hope you have enjoyed the beginning of the work week and everything that comes with it, or at least endured it, victoriously. Were you not victorious today? Fam, listen. As usual, we have to get through our stuff that we got to get through. Those of you who send me messages to be mods, I haven't forgotten about you or whatever. I just hadn't gotten to it yet. I saw the messages. I'll get back to them. Just want to let you all know that I didn't have you send me a message in vain. Remember, August the 1st, that is a Thursday. We will have the Monday and Wednesday show, then the Thursday show. How the Irish became white. We're going to have that. We're going to do that. We're going to do all of that good stuff. Just remember, this is a relatively short book. So pick it up. When somebody put a link in like when I announced the book, I believe, in YouTube. And so maybe you can go there and like maybe not have to pay. So somebody put something in there. I haven't validated what they put in there, but it's something. So also you can go to donatebrown.com. If you want to donate, you can go to patreon.com/ycarnell. You can also you can also hit this like button. Cost you no money to hit this like button. Cost you no money. You can also if you don't hit the like button, you can subscribe if you have not already subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, like I don't know if I want to subscribe. It's not really a commitment. You can unsubscribe if you want to. Like just hit the subscribe button, and if for some reason that pissed me off and I'm done. I don't know why people do that just because they disagree, but you still can. It's one click. Okay? You can go to subscribetobrown.com. Again, that's just me collecting your email address because you know a lot of things are going on the YouTubes. So I just need to have all of your information. Subscribetobrown.com. So fam, let's try. Let's try to get into it. You know, I want to kind of have a conversation. It's going to be a little bit complicated, but it won't be I don't think it'll be a long conversation, but I think it's a necessary conversation. When we talk about HR 40, it's like the elephant in the room. And we need to talk about what is in it. And honestly, if you have not gotten a chance, just print it out for yourself. Look at it, look over it, make your own edits. Like we're doing this together. I know I have a history on the Hill, but we're still like, you know, this is citizenship. This is what citizenship is. This is what it does. So it's only like, how many pages is this little thing, child? This, without being double spaced in terms of just how it prints out on the computer as opposed to how it's submitted in Congress, it's only like 6 pages, child. So go and look at that. It's not going to take you long. It's not no heavy reading. So I want to talk about something, and I want to frame it in a particular way. See, first of all, what people don't understand, shout out first of all to Dr. Cosby, because there's a reason why I work with Dr. Cosby. There's a reason why I work with Simmons. There's a reason why I work with St. Stephen's, because they are doing the work and working with people to get the first ever Cosby Seminary ADOS scholarships. Those are scholarships for us in negotiation with other people. You understand how that works? When we talk about politics, we're talking about right here, the Baptist Seminary of Kentucky, to have specific ADOS scholarships. That's for us. That's not for minorities. That's for us. And Dr. Cosby said the following. He said this may be the first, and I think it is, scholarship set aside exclusively for ADOS. In history, it demonstrates BSK's, that's what we just talked about, the seminary, commitment to racial justice, which can lead to authentic racial reconciliation. Notice he said authentic, because inauthentic is where you just tell me to be sorry and you hate it happened, but we got to move on. The scholarship provides 10 incoming ADOS students per year with full tuition to pursue a graduate degree with BSK. Students, and remember when we talk about BSK, that's the Baptist Seminary of Kentucky. Students who receive the scholarship become what's called Cosby Scholars. Okay? So, but it's not all good. Like then he's trying to make a move in another direction, right? The Southern Baptist Theological Seminary rejects a call to pay slavery reparations, but he's still moving. He's still doing the work. He won over here, and over here they said no. And we understand why they said no. Dr. Cosby was very, very clear. And I'm saying this for a reason, because it leads into what we're talking about in terms of HR 40. Cosby told the Courier Journal on Thursday he was not surprised by the seminary leaders' response to the petition. They have consistently been on the wrong side of justice issues, Cosby said, adding that apologizing for ties to slavery is not repentance. That is not repentance. Let me tell you something. This is what Jesus justice looks like. If you want to talk about, well, I don't know whether my church is corrupt or my church is what, there is a framework. There is an archetype for it. This is what it looks like. But what I want to lead up to this in terms of what I talk about, I want to lead up to it by helping everybody understand something. I'm not saying this for no reason. You see what happened with Dr. Cosby in one arena. He did good, but in the other arena, at this point, not forever, right now he didn't do so well. But part of what happens, practice is performance. That's what we do. That's what he's doing there. And that's what we're doing here. Right? That's what we're doing. And so you have to understand that. You have to understand how to move and what we're doing and how we're moving and what to look at. There have to be sort of like guidelines. There have to be guidelines for not only winning and losing, but what we're going to ask for, what we're going to demand, and the work of that and the complexity that goes into that. So when I talk about that, I talk about this because we haven't really had a very specific conversation about this. We haven't had a conversation about HR 40 the commission to study, develop reparation proposals for African Americans Act. We have kind of talked around it, and we have had discussions and a little bit about what's needed and the number, but we have not talked about the only piece of legislation. We're talking about the House side right now, not the Senate side. The Senate side, Cory Booker got his side. We got the House side over on here. So, but this is still, they mirror each other, because that's what happens. We got to have a little bit of a class here now. When you have a serious piece of legislation that people on both sides want to get through, you have what you call companion legislation. You have it in the House and the Senate. Now, you have to understand what I'm going to say right now. How have we gone? How have we gone, ladies and gentlemen, Breaking Brown family, ADOS family? How have we gone this long without a companion piece of legislation? Why did it take Cory Booker, and he's running for president, and God bless him, for whatever reason, we appreciate you doing what you did. But how has it taken this long? Understand that HR 40 was proposed in what, 87? How has it taken us this long to get to a point where we, in 2019, that's the year we in now, that we at least have companion legislation? So I'm going to go through it, and I want to talk a little bit. I know it's going to get a little bit dry, but I want to talk a little bit about a commission versus if this just went through Congress in terms of how Congress normally operates. And I want to talk about the differences. I want to talk about a couple of problems that I have with the bill. I want to talk about the people who are in the bill and proposing the bill. And I want to talk about who should be included and excluded and why. And I want to talk about something else. In terms of how I frame this, you know I like to frame things. I want to talk about how, fam, listen. I always say that in a generation, you can have one transformative thing, whether it's, the New Deal or LBJ. We talk about the war on poverty, whatever it is in any generation, right? I think it's worse for us, though, in the sense of, hear me when I say this. I think you only get one shot at reparations. If they approve a commission or if it goes through committee, I think you get one shot. I don't think there's a redo ever. Ever. And I'm going to tell you something else before we get into it. If you come up there talking like this, talking about the diaspora and talking about, well, they just being xenophobic and black liberation theology around the globe and all this stuff, it is finished. I am telling you, if you get on Capitol Hill, first of all, understand something. We don't even have a majority right now of Democrats who really want to do this. Republicans are far worse. They don't even want to see us there, really, a lot of them. They are opposed. So if they don't want to see ADOS in the room, if they don't even want us to be in that room, in that space, having this conversation, God knows they don't want to hear about you and your diaspora and your black liberation theology. In terms of like your black globalist politics. I'm not talking about the church. I'm talking about this black globalist stuff. They don't even want to hear about us, and we built the country. You cannot make this into some type of narcissistic play. That's first of all. You cannot do it. They don't care about your kente cloth. They don't care about whatever you got going on. They don't care. We built the country, and they haven't done right by us. They don't want to hear about what you're talking about, this stuff that you're talking about. You just like to hear yourself talk. There's nothing xenophobic about saying we have a specific claim. You're just making stuff up as you go, and that's a problem. It's a problem for a lot of reasons. But let's just go through a little bit of the bill, and then we'll loop back to this. So let's just start. Start, as always, as we should, just start at the beginning. To address the fundamental injustice, cruelty, brutality, and inhumanity of slavery in the United States and the 13 American colonies between 1619 and 1865, and to establish a commission to study and consider a national apology and proposal for reparations for the institution of slavery, is subsequent de jure and de facto racial and economic discrimination against African Americans, and the impact of these forces on living African Americans to make recommendations to Congress on appropriate remedies for other purposes. Now, off the top, I appreciate whoever added in I appreciate whoever added in de jure and de facto. But here's the problem too. When you really understand race, and this is why this should have been updated a long time ago, you understand that race is far more complicated than this in terms of how we've been made into a caste system. What that means is that this 14-page kind of double-spaced bill, it should have looked something more like what we have. We have something from, there was something proposed by, this was something proposed by John Lewis. Now, this hasn't been enacted. This is last updated June the 6th, 2019. Introduced June the 6th. But you see, it's 96 pages. See, what I want to get to, and what I want everybody to understand. The first thing you have to understand, it is absolutely true. It is absolutely true that a law comes out. When you go, somebody proposes a bill, that bill goes to committee. And then it goes to subcommittees. They have committees and they have subcommittees. And a lot of times most of the time, bills die right there. They die right there. Right? That's how it works. That's just how it works. When you come to the floor, you go to, and they write the bill. That's why they write it. So everything comes out way longer and more complex and everything than it goes in. But I think, for me, when you see that bill from John Lewis that was 96 pages and ours is like 14 pages, this HR 40, I think, especially if they're writing for a commission, because a commission is different. A commission, now we're going to get complicated. A commission isn't like committee and subcommittee. That's how you make a law. A commission is something very different. You remember the 9/11 commission, all the commissions? This is not a presidential commission. You also have presidential commission and you have a legislative commission. This is a congressional commission. So this is a different thing. But even in terms of how you structure it, you have to be very careful. And let me tell you why. What any bill, when it actually emerges, when it comes out of committee, if it makes it to the floor to get a vote, one of the things that has to happen is that it has to answer several very key questions. It has to answer, who does this go to? If you're talking about reparations. And I'm talking about how you have to structure it when you go in so that when it comes out, it's the right thing. And I'm talking about specificity and why I think even the introduction has to be very specific, because you're framing it in a way that you don't want it torn apart in committee. Because committee can say, I'm just going to put this together with some other bills for the Native Americans and some other minority groups and call it the Minority Reconciliation Act. You can do whatever you want to do. We don't want that. So you have to be very clear on what this bill is, what you want, and you do that with specificity. And you do that by answering certain questions. Who is this bill for, specifically? American descendants of slavery. Okay, is that all black people? Okay, no. Okay. Well, if it's not all black people, then who is it for? You have to specify that. You have to specify what American descendants of slavery means. You have to specify who gets what. This is not just a cash payment, right? Are we gonna do credits to colleges? Are we going to do a tax credit that so we don't have to pay as much tax? What are the mechanisms? What are the mechanisms for redistribution? Right? Let's be specific, because these people will mess it up. I'm not talking about anybody who wrote. I'm talking about when it goes to committee and subcommittee, because nobody really wants it. Okay, what are we going to do? So what's that mechanism that's going to do that? What is it? Are we going to do it through the IRS? What's the procedure? These are all things that have to happen. These are all things. This is what has to happen. And when you look at when you look at this piece of legislation, it's for a commission to study and consider. It's not even trying to go to subcommittee and committee. It's not even trying to go directly to that. It's doing a commission. We're going to get to that. But I'm talking about if you were to do it the other way. So what I'm talking about, committee and subcommittee, goes straight through Congress. They're talking about a commission. And I'm going to explain that in a second. I know it's getting a little hairy and ain't as much fun, but that's just what we need to talk about. You have to talk about exclusion and inclusion. You have to answer Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders said, well, what do you mean? What do you mean about the thing you did? You wanted to do a cash payment? What did you want? He said that. That's what he said. So we have to answer him. This is what we mean. Specificity is key. Specificity kind of locks it in, right? Because one of the dangers with a commission, let me see if we can pull this up. But, that was the 9/11 commission report and recommendations and stuff like that. But one of the dangers with a commission, any kind of commission, is that the commission can come back and make recommendations. And I'm going to talk fairly about the pluses and the minuses. HR 40 calls for a commission, right? So I'm going to talk fairly about these different things. What happens, one of the dangers when you talk about commissions is that you can decide, you can say, let me bring this back up while we're talking about it. You can have somebody come back from the commission and decide that, like, it's and give a bad recommendation, basically what I'm saying. You can have somebody come back with a recommendation that's not what it should be. See, this is the part, study and consider. Study and consider a national apology, okay, for injustice, subsequent, de facto, recommendations, that's what it does. Now, let's go on. We're going to go on to the purpose. How the injuries resulting from matters described in paragraphs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can be reversed, provided appropriate policies, programs, recommendations for the purpose of reversing the injuries. How, in consideration of the commission's finding, any form of compensation to the descendants of enslaved African is calculated. Okay? Now hold on. Stay with me. We're coming home. Now, identify, compile, and synthesize the relevant corpus of evidentiary documentation of the institution of slavery which existed within the United States and the colonies. That's 1619. Now, this is what I wanted to say. I have a problem with this 1619 to 1865. And I understand that they mentioned Jim Crow, but I think when you talk about this, you have to specifically talk about the racial wealth gap. You have to specifically, listen, this is no regular bill. This is not something that I expect something nice to happen in committee and subcommittee. But if they go to a commission, it's even more complicated. Because a commission, let's go to a commission now, since we talk about it so much. Since we're talking about it, let's just go straight through it. This is one of the best kind of like intros, I think, on like a commission. What a commission does, the value of it, what it means. And you see here, let me bring this down a little bit. I know this is not good reading. It ain't fun. But throughout American history, Congress has found commissions to be useful tools in the legislative process. Commissions may be established, among other things, to cope with increases in the scope, complexity of legislation, to forge a consensus, to draft bills, to promote inter-party communication, to address issues that do not relate neatly within the jurisdictional boundaries of congressional committees, and to bring together recommendations. These goals can be grouped into 6 categories: expertise, issue and political complexity, consensus building, nonpartisanship, solving collective action problems, and visibility. Now, the visibility thing, I'm going to be honest with you. The visibility thing is a good thing. But what I will also tell you is that there are 1,000 ways this could go wrong. There are 1,000 ways that this could go terribly, terribly wrong. And everything, listen, there are 1,000 ways everything could go wrong, and everything's got to go right. That's a problem. That's a real problem. How, in considerations of the commission's findings, any form of compensation, that we talk about the compensation. Okay, who's qualified? Who's qualified? All members, oh, hold up, I didn't put it up there. All members of the commission shall be persons who are especially qualified. What does that mean? Especially qualified to serve on the commission by virtue of their education, training, activism, or experience, particularly in the field of African American studies and reparatory justice. I have a problem with the word activism in there. And I know that's what we do. But let me tell you what I would like my role to be if I was here. I want to orchestrate it. I think sometimes you got to be understanding when your thing is not to be in front of the camera. I want to, like, if we do the commission, If you talk about the commission, you got to talk about who's got to be there to have the conversation. And the best conversation, the people who can have that conversation, is not necessarily the people that you think can have it. Everything ain't what you think it is. This is again about the committee. Congress may choose to establish, a commission. A commission when legislators and their staffs do not currently have sufficient knowledge or expertise in a complex, you see that? Complex policy area. Reparations is a complex policy area, right? I think that's why, I'm trying to be very generous, I think that's why they decided we're going to do this commission. Very complex. Okay, fine. By assembling experts with backgrounds in particular policy areas to focus on a specific mission, legislators might effectively obtain insight into complex policy problems. They did not ask for your activism. They're asking for people who can solve specific complex problems. So they're asking for a Darity. They're asking for other people who have written about specific reparations and what that would mean. They're asking for people who have done that research. And the people who should orchestrate who gets to sit in that space is people like us we are the ones. The energy surrounding this whole movement came from us. So we're the ones who can decide. See, the thing is, the way we crafted this with the data and anchored in the data, that's the thing that's going to move it forward. Like, that's the thing that got us here. That's the thing that moves it in committee. And let me tell you what's going on now. All of a sudden, now Antonio and I have been scheduled to be in Alabama the week that they're having. We're going to be in Birmingham. We've been scheduled to be here for almost a year. The week that they're having the first hearing. It's in like on HR 40. I saw a tweet. Somebody sent me the tweet. They're having the first hearing on it. How? How are you having a hearing? How are you having a hearing on this commission that you're talking about whether or not you want to start it up? Because understand, this isn't a committee hearing on let's do the reparations payment. This is a committee hearing on doing the commission. So understand too that that's an extra step. But I want to understand how y'all are doing that. Is it just happenstance that that's the week that Antonio and I were going to be away? And I think everybody kind of knew that we do this every year with Dr. Cosby. I think everybody, what's going on? Is everybody playing? Because if these people run it, it's going nowhere. And everybody will say, well, we tried, and they came in here and they started talking about Kente Law. Or they started talking about global liberation. It's not going to work that way. If this goes to committee and they set up a commission, we only gonna get one shot. That's it. There's only one shot. I really feel that. I don't think to get to this point, and you even have people who are in favor of the commission. This is where we are. Because my instinct when I read this was to pull the whole HR 40. Because it's not good enough. But I'm willing to change it. But y'all trying to push this through for what? You don't even have the right to try to do that. Because I don't believe it's happenstance what's happening in terms of the dates of this. But we're not finished. We are not finished. So I already told you I had a problem with these dates because people are going to look at these dates and say 1619 through 1865. If you mention Jim Crow, why even have these dates here? Unless you, what you should really have is a bunch of distinct sections. From this era right here to this era right here, this happened. This was the era for lynching and stealing and plundering. Okay, this was the era for Jim Crow and convict leasing or whatever. Okay, this is the era where this happened. You should break this stuff down and show in terms of unequivocally how we are re-enslaved every generation. It should go section by section by section by section. Specificity of what happened to us in each generation. Take it all the way to mass incarceration. Take it all the way. I saw an article in kansascity.com where black people are 91% more likely to get stopped by police. I understand that this sort of stuff is not necessarily always the legislation that's introduced is always short, but this is different. You got to do it different. You got to do it different, or people will take advantage of what you don't know and what you did not include, right? And then you got to shepherd it all the way through. You got to shepherd this thing all the way through. You can't fall off. Let me show you what you really can't do. If you really want this bill to go all the way through and you really in favor of it, you can't do this. This is pinned. Understand, this is Sheila Jackson Lee's Twitter account. This is her Twitter account. And this is what is pinned to the very top. Something about Mueller. What does that tell you about the priorities that she has in terms of reparations? Reparations is the thing that Democrats were talking about. That's the thing that we got this, ADOS got this on the thing, and you're sponsoring it. This is supposed to be your thing. All this Mueller stuff, you need to let them handle that. But you can't do that, can you? Because you want to be seen. You want to be in the show. You want to be, and here's the catch-22, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just say this now that we're having the conversation. When you talk about committees and who chairs committees and who gets the best positions in committees, those are people who usually do the best job for Democrats. So, okay. So you want somebody, you want to chair a committee because a committee means you have power, especially if you are on the Ways and Means Committee in the House, and I think it's the Finance Committee in the Senate. What that means is that you control the purse strings. You is a boss. So you want to be there, and that's, as we talk about this, that's one thing we got to talk about, understanding the importance of different committees. But you want to be a boss. But what the Democrats will tell you is the way to be a boss is to be a good Democrat. Okay. The way to be a boss is to be a good Democrat. But being a good Democrat ain't necessarily good for us as a group. So let me tell you what you end up with. With that formula, you end up with this. Clyburn came out against reparations. Like none of the candidates. He came out to give all the candidates cover. None of the candidates even came out against it. Like Bernie Sanders said, well, what is it? And then everybody else said, well, I'm kind of in favor of studying it, and I have some stuff that's going to deal with race. He said, no. That is your job. So you get to be a black leader. You get to be a black congressman who is technically in power, but you don't really get to exercise your power because your job is to be a good Democrat. Consider that, ladies and gentlemen. Consider that as quite the conundrum. Quite the conundrum. This is just it. It just is what it is. And we got all the wrong people. I put this up here before. We know Sheila Jackson Lee's background and her heritage. She's not the right person to be here. And it's not because, Yvette's being... No, I'm not. I'm not saying nothing about that. If I go somewhere, or like my parents from here, and I got another parent or grandparent, whatever, I don't know how I move in that arena in another country, right? And the second part about it is, she's not liked. When you're not liked, we've talked about this. When you're not liked, what happens is you don't have a lot of friends. We need somebody with a lot of friends and a lot of goodwill. Honestly, this is a bill that John Lewis should have submitted, because he still has a connection to the civil rights movement. This should be his bill. He did a sit-in for gun rights, but then do a sit-in for this. Then do a sit-in for reparations. How do you... I don't understand how you don't want to risk it all, or how you feel that you can't, or how you know that you can't. And there's nothing wrong. Listen, let me just say this. I'm trying to go back and forth because, let me say this. When we talk about Sheila Jackson Lee, we talk about her Jamaican heritage. And when this is not about being xenophobic, this is about you have one shot. You can't mess this up. Have you ever seen something that is orchestrated? And it has to be orchestrated just right. And if you mess it up, if one little thing is off, it don't got to be a lot. Then that's it. Sheila Jackson Lee, also for the fact that she's not liked, and her temperament and her history on the Hill for firing people, that's why she got it. And I'm going to tell you something else. That nobody want to hear. Part of the reason that she deal with it is because don't nobody else want to. Don't nobody else want those people coming in there talking about global liberation or whatever and wearing dashikis and Kango hats. Don't nobody else want them in their office talking and wasting time. That's why she got it too. Don't nobody want to be bothered with the rest of y'all who've been doing this madness. That's part of the reason everybody knows, oh, it ain't going to go nowhere because they know who's behind it. These people going to come up here. I'm going to smell like incense when they leave. Listen, Sheila, you going to, child, go on, take it. I don't want to be bothered. Kanye's left and nobody wanted to be bothered. And there's a lot of reasons why. Now I understand that the CBC got its own. We talked about their problems last time. But there are other reasons why they don't want to be bothered with this. It's not being led by serious people. How you submit something in 1987 and ain't did no work on it. Social media is the thing now. Y'all didn't even have y'all didn't even have a Twitter accounts. What were y'all doing? Talking about you got chapters. Chapters for what? You might as well be knitting. And I'm not saying this to attack anybody. I'm telling you that you have been ineffective. And that everybody knows that you're ineffective and not serious. So don't nobody want the bill. Do you know what it means for a CBC member not to want the bill? Nobody wants to be bothered, not just with the bill or the headache. Nobody wants to be bothered with you. Because even if they submit the bill, they got to service you when you come in all the time talking random stuff with bull horns and red, black, and green flags. That's not serious, especially in this America. You have to deal. You're gonna have to. How you gonna not deal with Republicans when they run the Senate? How do we have Republican? You can't. For you to just be talking about global liberations means that I don't know what's going on in your mind. And the other side of having a commission as opposed to like just going straight through in terms of going straight through with a bill, with a number, we want 12 trillion over this time, because you got to talk about the period too, because the Office of the Management and Budget is going to talk about how much this costs. And if you talk about it, if you have to put it in a sweet spot, because Republicans, it's just an enormous amount. The debt is the debt. But I don't know how much you have to study the debt. That's my problem with the commission. Not only is it kind of touchy because we got to go through the commission, they can make a bad recommendation, but then the debt is the debt. I don't need to study the debt too much. Debt is what it is. We kind of have a lot more information than we had in 1987, so I have a much better idea. About the debt. And then, the funniest thing is, Sheila Jackson Lee sent out a Dear Member notice. After we created all this noise, she sent out a Dear Member letter trying to get co-sponsors. Ain't nobody been doing it. Nobody's been doing it. That's all because of us. You don't get to take our work and funnel it back to you. It's obvious here who is doing this and who needs to continue this push. And now you're trying to get in the way. I see what you're doing. There's no other couple of days that Antonio and I were going to be going together to the same thing. And that's the day of the hearing. You are not slick. And I'm not talking to the Breaking My Family, but let me just talk to Black America in general. Y'all are part of the problem because y'all let them do this. ADOS America, you are part of the problem because y'all let everybody do this. Well, I don't know if they're not going to be there. See, what Yvette and them should have did is just went there anyway. See, they should have known that. See, in my inbox with your stupidity. No, what are you doing? See, what I would do if I was you are me. Understand that if this doesn't happen, your kids have nothing. You can't catch up with Bezos' kids and all this stuff that's going on right now. You can't close this gap yourself. This is not about what I should do. This is about what we should do. What have you done except try to armchair quarterback me? Somebody was in the comments said, well, Yvette, you should collect all the images of ADOS people who are meeting up and doing stuff and put them. Why don't you collect them and send them to me, Playboy? It's obvious ADOS is online all the time with different meetups and stuff that they're doing. I'm one person. Antonio's one person. If you want that to happen, why don't you do it? Where do you get to tell me what to do? This is not a football game. This is not how we do this. This is not how this works. And you got to stop looking at it as something that happens next week, like the dude who called in last week. Well, I tell you what. See, what you got to do, you got to run for office like Ocasio-Cortez, and then we be in there. No, politics is about a sustained effort. Pressure. Over time. Pressure bust pipes. You can't lose interest either. Well, I was on the ADOS, now I'm off of it. I don't know. I don't know what they gonna do. In what time frame? And where are you? And what are you doing? What is your contribution? You got a lot of ADOS people on Twitter working extraordinarily hard. You got me and Antonio, and the rest of y'all just trying to see how it work out. Man, come on. I don't get it. And then you have this. Let's talk about this too. Let's talk about who's setting themselves up. Okay, this is the commission appointment. The commission shall be composed of 13 members who shall be appointed within 90 days after the date of enactment of this act as follows. 3 shall be appointed by the president. In this arena, that's already a problem. 3 shall be appointed by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Pelosi. That's whew. 1 shall be appointed by the President Pro Tem or the Senate. 6 members shall be. This is a problem. 6 members shall be selected from the major civil society and reparations organizations that have historically championed the reparations reparatory justice. This is a problem because this shows me you're trying to set yourself up. Why should somebody from Cobra speak? I wouldn't need, listen, I want to be a part of this. But the people that I would have on that commission, I would not try to insert myself to be, I want the best people there. I want the best experts there. I want the best people. I want the best economists. I want the best historians. I want you to tell me how this history and this economy goes together. I want to orchestrate this. I want to puppeteer. I don't want to necessarily be sitting in that seat so I can get a check. Do you all want a check? Because it says you're going to get paid. Now, I understand why normally you would get paid, but in this instance, I don't feel anybody should get paid because I feel people are in it to get paid. I understand. It's full-time work or whatever. I don't care. Because in this case, I really feel like if you can't speak truth to power if power has a spoon in your mouth. I feel that way. I don't know how. In this instance, it's too important. It's too important. I don't know how long you're going to try to go on because the another thing we find with commissions, they're temporary. But how long do you make temporary when you get a check? I don't know how you live your life. I don't know. And normally I would say, well, you absolutely should get paid. But no more, I can't say that in this case. Because you're setting yourself up to be on there. I don't know if you want to be on there if you got to be in D.C. and only thing you get is hotel and food stipend. I don't know if you want to be on there no more. Go home. No, you don't have any kind of expertise because you've been running around with a bullhorn talking reparations. Let me tell you, fam, this is a recipe for a disaster. Can you imagine? I'm not talking about, think about all the experts that we have that can really talk on this. And we talk about, we got books and we got people and we still got people that live back then. You know, we ain't that far. I'm not talking about slavery. I'm talking about during that era. When you talk about Jim Crow and what was stolen and all that stuff and the KKK, we can bring them in too. Like we can bring a lot of stuff in. But if you want to see the Republicans laugh at us, I want you to put some of them people on some kind of commission and have them talk. You know, the reason we talk about Dr. Darrett is he has a PhD from MIT. That's where this comes from. We need more of that. Make the case. Make it plain. Make it indisputable. This is not about activism. I understand the role and me and Antonio played, but I'm trying to puppeteer. I need the people there to say everything right to where I have an ironclad case. There is nothing you can do. There is nothing you can say that undermines the case that we have just made. That's what has to happen. You don't talk about people they have a history. No, that's not how any of this works. That's not how any of this works. And that's not specific enough. Education, training, and activism. No, that's not specific enough. That's not a specific enough qualification. You couldn't get a job with that. See, this has to be specific. Because what'll happen if you don't do it specifically, they will, the people who don't want to see this to happen will call all the wrong people to make all the wrong arguments, and you're sent home. And they will say, well, you know what? We gave you your commission. We don't know what you did. We don't know how you messed it up. So that's why I don't even know if I want a commission, because I need language like this. This is Sheila Jackson Lee. You understand? This is some of your stuff. To require, to designate, to direct, to amend. That's the kind of language we know. That's the kind of language we use. And I understand that this is after it got, after it got out of committee. But it's the same thing. You have to have very specific language. That's how you have to do it. This isn't like Pan-Africanism reparations. That's not what we're doing. This isn't a conversation that we need to have. Nobody, in response to social media campaign that asserts that somehow that domestic and transnational struggles of African people are mutually exclusive instead of symbiotic. Nobody said they weren't symbiotic. We said we have a specific claim. Either you stupid or you think I'm stupid. Don't go. If you go to Congress talking about the symbiotic nature of claims around the globe, they're going to laugh you out of there. This is stupid. This is stupid. This is not how you make a claim for ADOS reparations. You're making a global Pan-Africanist claim. You're a pie in the sky guy. This is stupid. Do you have tenure at Howard? How? This is just, it's almost an obsession just to keep us away from it, as opposed to like doing the right thing for everybody. And just so you have some history, you know, the number of congressional commissions created by Congress, just so you have some context of how often this happens. Because they are asking for a commission, just so you know. And it goes down the line from all the way from 1989 to 2016. And so you see that, like, you know, kind of a deal. Most of them also are policy-wise, so it's complex. And I don't know how something that's kind of designed to figure out complex issues would be better suited for activists to sit at that table. I don't even know how that works. I don't even understand what people are trying to say to me. Like, that's the point. That's the point I'm at. It doesn't. None of this makes any sense to me. None of it. None of it. Commissions are supposed to be very thorough and figure things out. Like, and you want to sit on it? What do you know? What's your expertise? Just because you will have a history in activism. Jeez, man. God, what are we doing? But, fam, you know, I really want to let y'all get in here, but, you know, there's so many things. There's so many ways to kill a bill. And you can kill a bill by homicide or suicide, basically. Like, if you come in here and you start talking, I don't understand what he's even saying. None of us have ever said. Nobody goes to CARICOM and say, why aren't you advocating for ADOS? None of us have ever said we oppose every other country getting their liberation, getting their reparations, or that these things are not connected, or that the you know, how ADOS are treated and oppressed in this country isn't connected to colonialism. We've never said that, even though y'all might have sold us, but we've never said that. We've never said that. We've never said that if we got reparations, we would not help in terms of liberation, black liberation around the globe. We have never said that. You're running around being ignorant. You're being an ignorant distraction, and you're getting in the way. And some people, for reasons that I don't quite understand, still listen to you, because all you say are these weird talking points. This is just so weird for us to be saying, listen, we have a very specific justice claim in this country. That's it. It's a legal claim. It's like law. Like, if you have a claim against Mississippi, you can't go and be like, I'm going to use my claim against New York and Arizona and Alabama. My claim is here. What happened to me happened here, or I was, against this state or whatever. That's where the claim is. And this is the claim. The claim comes from this and this and this and this. Specificity is key. All this loud blowhard nonsense is just awful. What are you doing? We are to say that we have a specific claim. It is the height of ignorance to associate a specific claim for reparations that traces back to slavery with xenophobia. That is the height of ignorance. You're not complex enough. Your thoughts are not complex enough to lead this fight. Especially in an era like with a Republican president and a Republican Senate. Go up there and talk your talk. Go up there. You want to see a big fail? You go up there and talk your talk about you talk your global black oppression talk and see how that soapbox works. This has to be a methodical case that you have to make. And I don't care whether you have to make it in terms of what you do, in terms of who you invite to be interviewed and what experts you bring to the subcommittee, or whether you make it a commission and they make the recommendation. Either way, this has to be methodical. You're not a methodical person. Nobody told you that? Anyway, fam, let me go to the calls because I want to really hear what you all have to say. If you printed it out and you have it, I really want to hear what you have to say about this whole thing because I'm about to pop a blood vessel. So we'll come back and we'll have the conversation, fam. What's going on, family? We are back. We are back. We are back. And we are going straight to the phones. Because I really want to see. I think we got somebody up in here. Think we got somebody for you. Um, so let me go to the phones, fam. 310, what's going on?
What up, Vet?
What's up?
You
What's
know,
up, Tom?
I've been watching the show. Great show, great
Thank
show.
you.
I just sent you a second image with the Nigerian slave trader article again, because that's going to be towards the end. Can you just pull up that in Cobra thing that I did send you already? Because I think we got to be clear. Part of what ADOS has done, American Descendants of Slavery, is it exposed that a lot of people don't understand that what reparations is or what it's who it's supposed to be for, and as a result, you can't speak for us because you're not really talking about reparations. Let's all just do this together. This is the mission statement for NCOPA. Let's do it like school, and we're going to read the first sentence. The mission of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America is to win full reparations for Black African descendants residing in the United States. Let's stop right there. Is it for the descendants of slavery that reside in the United States? Or just Black African descendants residing in the United States? These people can't represent us for, they can't do this. Let me read it again. Black African descendants residing in the United States. That's not ADOS. That's anybody that's African is here. That's not reparations. Am I reading it wrong, Yvette?
No, you're reading it right.
Let's keep going. And its territories for the genocidal war. And its territories for the genocidal war. Can you pull up the New Yorker? We'll come right back to this. Let's pull up the New Yorker, if you got it.
I got it. Hold on one second.
Because I think one of the problems is this recasting of there being this World War Zero that happened where that's how we got here. They have such structural issues that before you even get to HR 40, they're the wrong people to be here. And the reason this discussion is happening is because of you guys that are listening right now, going on Twitter, going to Congress members, and to avoid you, they're going to go to these people. This article comes out last year, one of the most honest articles about somebody talking about their family. Now, we have talked about it. We as ADOS have asked the question, can y'all just tell us if you sold slaves? Has anybody answered?
Nope.
You would think if nobody sold slaves, everybody be saying, no, not my family.
They be offended.
But I haven't heard.
Yep.
I haven't heard no answers. But this article here is in the New Yorker. How premier is the New Yorker?
Oh, it's the premier
magazine
magazine in America. What you mean?
So for those people that are listening that's never written an article for a major magazine, let me tell you what happens when you write for Fortune, for the New Yorker, when you do this kind of article.
Atlantic.
It ain't like writing for Ebony or Essence. No, I'm not talking about just because of respect. You can't put it out if it ain't accurate. They get a research team out there to check your data. They make calls, because they can't have no inaccuracy in their paper. So this woman here, her family, her great-grandfather was a slave trader into the transatlantic slave trade. And the Nigerian woman at that, where are we from? I'm from the Nigerian, from Benin, come on, the Congo, come on, where are we from? So, here we have the great conundrum of NCOBRA on full display. On full display, because this woman basically, her grandfather was a slave trader, and what we're saying is that if she's here, she should get reparations. Is that how we should read it, Yvette?
That's how you should read. That's how you should read in Cobra.
So let's pull it back up, because I want to finish that first sentence. I'm not going to hold everybody. I'm just going to get that truth. While she's pulling it up, I'm going to tell you, you can't have Sheila Jackson be the champion of the bill, because she's far too conflicted and far too committed to being a Jamaican. And out of respect, she has that right. But she should be talking about the alliance with CARICOM, not setting up HR 40, because she builds in flaws that have to do with her own visual. We saw that with Gardner, with the Black Census study. You need somebody that's full-throated, ADOS, all the time, every day. I don't even know if that person's in Congress right now. Let me say this. Let's finish this sentence, man. These are the people who are trying to run the reparations. They can't do it. The mission of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. I don't even want nobody to come up with that title, that name. Come on, man. Is to win full reparations for black African descendants residing in the United States. It's a word missing from that, ain't it?
Yeah.
I'm missing a word. Do you see slavery?
Nope. Just melon and keep your hair.
So we know, okay, I guess they left that out because they're going to be talking about all kinds of slavery, Jim Crow and all that. They just left that out. In the United States and its territories for the genocidal war against Africans that created the transatlantic slave trade. Now, that's a poorly written sentence because are we talking about Africans creating the transatlantic slave trade? Because that's what I've read in the New Yorker. Or are we saying something different because it's written all convoluted, but against Africans that created the transatlantic slave trade, Jim Crow and chattel slavery continue in vestiges. All I'm saying to you is that what they're talking about and what led to ADOS pushing this reparations discussion is vastly different. They are not in alignment with what Sandy Darity has as his two requirements. Under their analysis, I believe that many people would give reparations whose families didn't descend from slavery in America. I think that there are fundamental flaws having people who don't understand reparations guiding this discussion. I think that there should be no cash payments to the people who are actually on this board. I think the number of people that are not experts is way too high. I think that so many, in addition, the bill itself needs to be entirely rewritten. There needs to be more teeth in the initial version. In so many ways, I think we've gotten to a point where this HR 40 ain't it. And it's not just not it because of the paper. It's not it because of the paper and because of the people who are championing the paper and didn't do the work to get here. Now, they'll say, well, we've been championing it for decades. Nobody knows. What are you talking about? The only reason this is being talked about is because of Adolf and the people running around the country passing out flyers at congressmen. Well, we do that too. No, y'all haven't. Stop. I'm just saying this, that I feel like y'all better get real. I'm talking about the listening audience. Because they're trying to steal this whole thing and then making it so convoluted that it isn't targeted at American descendants of slavery. It isn't dealing with the reality that we already know is going to be $5 to $15 trillion. It isn't dealing with the fact that your families deal with the struggle and the cost and the consequence. It's playing a game of we all Africans, so then we all struggle together. That game is not how we live. It's not how we eat. It's not how we survive. I just wanted to say that and just give my support to what Yvette doing tonight. All right.
Appreciate you, Toe. Let me just say something else. There are some people who I feel like there are people in this world who I feel like just want to fight but don't want to win. They just want to fight. They don't want to win. And I feel that way because, I don't think we understand. I don't think we see it that way. We see reparations as a win, and for the collective, it is a win. But if your whole project is that fight, then you've lost your job. You've lost the thing that gives your life meaning, right? Because that was your life, and now you have this thing. And now you have to move on as a full adult developed person with reparations that you have that made you whole, but you're not whole in other ways, but that's your thing. I think that's part of the problem. The other thing I would say too is this. I want you to put yourself in the mind of a white person right now, right? You're a white person. Or you are somebody else who has accessed whiteness in this country, right? And people come to you and they talk about reparations. If we make a case for reparations for descendants of slavery, I think, even racists understand that reparations are due. They just try to do that little slick stuff where they say, oh no, you got it through welfare. No, welfare is a general program for people who are poor. That's not reparations, but that's the slick stuff that a racist will try to do to talk about. But what I'm trying to point to is that even a white racist knows that reparations is old. They just try to slick you into saying you already got them. I think what's happening is that people don't understand. If you go in there and say reparations for people of African descent, especially in this climate where there are a lot of white people who are falling. Now, white poverty is still not black poverty, but they're falling. And you're telling them you don't, not only do you want to get reparations for American descendants of slavery, you're trying to get them for all black people. How do you think that's going to work out? And I'm going to tell you something. It wouldn't work out for me if I was a white person because it don't make no sense. I would be like, no, the people who are old come from slavery and Jim Crow. That makes sense to me. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, how do you come from over there? How you come from Eritrea or Ethiopia, whatever? You get the same thing. So you get to leap over me, and you don't come from what these black people over here come from. They come from slavery. That don't make no sense. Yeah, I'm opposed to it because it's stupid. You stupid for talking to me about it. It doesn't make any sense. All because you don't want to do the work of the real work. Because you have to exclude people when they don't fit a claim. Courts do that all the time. You're not a part of this claim. You don't fit the criteria. Boom. It's not personal. If I move to Haiti or whatever, and Haiti gets reparations from France, I don't meet the criteria, and I know it. I would never even ask for it. I know it. But I don't know how you call me xenophobic because I'm totally in favor of Haiti getting reparations. I feel like Haiti not only is owed reparations, I feel like Haiti gets kicked around now because they kicked the French out. I feel like that's part of why they get oppressed now. I'm totally in favor of it. And if I go over there, if I move over there, I know it don't belong to me. It belongs to them. They got the bones buried. It's y'all's. I'll take you out. We party together, but it's not mine. And I'm fine with that. Mine is over here with the red, white, and blue. Yours is over here. I'm good with that. So let me go to the next call. 301, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, Yvette, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Oh, great. I've been trying to say this for a long time, Yvette.
Okay, what's going
and
on?
I thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Okay.
I say I have to go back to 2008. I have to. Because Treasury Secretary Paulson, he wrote on a sheet of paper, one HR 40, gave a sheet of paper to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and said, I need this amount of money now, or the banks are going to fail tomorrow morning. Now, say what you want to. The banks, General Electric, the auto industry, Goldman Sachs, AIG, and Warren Buffett. Under the Obama administration, first term, they walked off with over $25 trillion. Okay?
Yeah.
$25 trillion. Take a look at the national debt in 2006 and what it was in 2012. Okay? They wrote them a blank check. You see, they come in and they get the relief immediately. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. In 2001, Yvette, 9/11 occurred.
Talk about it.
Okay? 9/11 victims got a blank check. The victims of Oklahoma City didn't get a blank check. The mass shootings around the country in Virginia Tech University didn't get a blank check. All I'm saying is these groups get economic relief. The Madoff victims, Bernie Madoff victims, nobody supposed to get any relief for participating in a Ponzi scheme. But the Madoff victims could convince the United States government to allow them to write off their losses in the Bernie Madoff scandal. So all I'm saying, Yvette, is, and I'm just naming a few.
Yeah.
But if you look over the last 20 years, people have been getting economic relief to the trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
Call it what you want to. So now we step to the fore asking for reparations. We should have been at. We missed the Obama administration. Was the time we should have really put our feet to the pedal. But we didn't. This is why I don't respect the CBC. I don't respect John Conyers. Because he was so busy being Benny Hill's sidekick, touching up the women, and wasn't worried about no HR 40. And I'll just also say this, Yvette. I like what you're doing.
Thank you.
I like where you're going. I like your thinking. No question. I can't argue with that. And I agree. I don't think our people are anywhere near your level of where we should be in terms of political thinking. We're not. And I say this, that the Democrats Democratic Party, the CBC is not going to move and let Pelosi tell them to move.
Oh, ain't that it?
Congressional Black Caucus, the Democratic Party, Yvette, is made up of many, many different parts of a quilt. You got GOBT, you got the labor unions, now the feminist groups, the Hispanics, the immigrants, the illegals, the banks. Okay, they all have interest. Every one of them. Mm-hmm. And the CBC, I don't care how I feel about the issues, Yvette, the CBC backs all of their issues. Yeah. So my question to you is, when are these groups that make up the Democratic Party are going to back any form of economic relief, be it reparations or whatever? Because I haven't seen anything.
Well, I haven't seen anything either. But let me tell you. But let me tell you the second part. Like, I honestly believe that, like, you know, the part of the problem is that they don't support our economic belief, but we support everything that they do, and we don't care. We still do it. We don't understand. Like, listen, if you don't support me, I don't support you. It just is what it is. It's politics. It's not personal. It's not personal. We're not self-interested. We're not a self-interested enough group to really do politics. That's our problem.
Well, I tell you this: with 55 members of the CBC, we're wasting our votes. The vote, Yvette, is leverage. Yeah. It's leverage such that you can have a brighter day, so you can exhibit your citizenship. Okay, you got we have to use our elbows. Everybody else uses their elbows to carve out realities, money, opportunities for themselves, and the group coming behind them. What are we to do? One last thing, and I'll leave. I'm in Maryland.
Okay.
I remember 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, I'm just telling you what happened. The GOBT group, because they didn't start off with same-sex marriage. Mm-hmm. You know, under Clinton, it was don't ask, don't tell. You had civil unions. Mm-hmm. You had some economic relief in terms of 401ks and certain things that GLBT couples could do. But they didn't have marriage. They didn't come off the bat wanting marriage. But when they got to the point where they wanted marriage, they came to the Maryland Assembly. Mm-hmm. Whoa. The black preachers came and told the black legislative caucus, don't support it. Mm. Don't back same-sex marriage. So they took it off the books. They didn't vote on it. Well, something magical happened. You know, the GLBT got to work. Okay, they cuffed up the pastors. They did what they had to do, and next year, guess what, Yvette? They got it passed.
You know, during that era, there was actually a great article about it was in the Atlantic. I remembered. I couldn't find it when I looked for it, but there was a great article about how the LGBT community got like the package, like how they were just like we don't care. We don't care. And like they were all on the same page. Like it wasn't just Maryland. You're talking about Maryland. It was all on the same page in like the bundlers. Like Hollywood. Everybody was on the same page. Like we don't care about all this other stuff you're talking about. Like we don't care. We care about this specific thing. All this other stuff you're talking about. Well, I can give you this. So we doing good on this climate, whatever. They were like, we don't care. We don't care. We're self-interested. That's what we want to do. And understand something. They were self-interested in terms of like that, in terms of their lobbying group, in terms of what we want in terms of marriage or whatever. We need to be self-interested to survive. Like we need to be self-interested to have another generation. That's not even what they were talking about. We're not even self-interested enough to survive and eat. What do you do?
I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. And I personally think, I don't know if we're going to do it, but I'm advocating for a new political paradigm, a new political party centered around reparations. That's the way you're going to get it. I do not think the Democratic Party or the CBC will even think about putting forth legislation that will provide economic relief or some form, whatever it comes out to be, some form of reparations for descendants of slaves. They're not going to do it. Yeah. They're just not going to do it. So Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, caller. Good call. I appreciate talking to you. Yeah, but you got to be unified. You got to be unified around your specific agenda. You can't be like, well, you can't be the moral authority. You can't be like, well, I care about this, and this is morally wrong, and oh my God, this baby here didn't have a diaper. What you talking about again? What baby? Well, who the baby was? I mean, you can't be. You have to be like these for my group, especially when your group is our group. But like you see that across the board. Like you remember when DACA and all how that happened? The executive order Obama did, it didn't go through Congress. The executive order he did, you remember why? Because they started calling him the deporter in chief. They shouted Obama down one time, and Obama said, "I can't do it by myself. I need help. I have to have a Congress. I understand how the politics work." And they said, "We don't care. We want it." And they got that executive order, and I think and that has led all the way here to what we saw get passed. We're not talking about right or wrong. We're talking about how politics works. And we're running around with one crumb trying to feed everybody. You get a piece, you get a piece, you get a piece. Eventually what you find out is that you don't have enough calories to eat. Not enough to nourish your body. See, what we're about to find out, family, what we're about to find out, sooner than you think, is that you need what? 2,000 calories. Let's just leave it at that, to a minimum to you're trying to get your stuff off. To just like your body organs, everybody got their calories in. Eventually, if you start trying to live off 500, it ain't gonna work. Now, see, you don't realize it because of how slow you're reducing your calories, right? So you reduced it from 2,000 to 1,800. You ain't feel nothing. You still good. You might even lost a pound. You might even, you're a little bit. Hey, you're a little bit slimmer. 1,500. Okay, now you got a 6-pack, but you losing a little bit. You ain't got as much muscle. 1,000. God, this is really hard, and I'm getting hungry. My stomach growling. 500. No. You can't do that for long. And 500 becomes 200. And your body's built in a certain way. You can't starve forever. Eventually, if you starve, you're not going to be here. How long you going to let everybody else eat and you not going to eat? How long does that happen? How long do we allow that to happen? You're not going to eat. That's what budgets do. When the caller called in and talked about budgets and what budgets mean and talked about self-interest, now that's food. Reparations is like what you need that's what you need to thrive really in this country, to be made whole. But right now we're dying. Right now we're at a caloric deficit. And so you don't really feel it right now, because right now the only thing that's happening to you is you're losing a little weight, losing a lot of weight. But pretty soon it gets kind of serious. And that's coming with the tax cuts, because what those Trump tax cuts did, they took away all the money that's used for programs. So what happens is you don't have that money no more. The money's just gone. So that means that you're going to have not only the ones that we talked about zeroing out, you're going to have a whole bunch of more cuts to come. Hey, the money ain't there. The money ain't there. The money ain't there. So I'm going to 347. 347, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how you doing, sister?
Pretty good. How about you?
I just want to say, I can't complain. I want to thank you, Tone, Irony, for this political education you've been giving us all. And I want to say, my black aspirational couple for this year is Sandy Derry and his wonderful wife. And I appreciate you guys for showing us, that there is a group of people that can handle the situation. Real people. And I'm not one of those people. I'm still learning. I have no real political education. I'm just one of those ADOS-like people, And I'm learning.
Yeah.
And I really, really... Oh, I'm sorry, sister.
No, I was agreeing with you. That's all.
And I just want to say thank you again. And there's a lot of work that we got to do. But, I'm willing for the fight. And, I'm going to stay concise. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you, fam. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you. Thank you. I think, one of the things that we have to change in terms of the work we have to kind of change what we value. I was reading this book, some article, And they were talking about how in the old media, like old black media, they like, I think I mentioned this before, they taught people how to debate. Like that was part of like black media to teach people how to debate. That was amazing. And so we don't have black media anymore. And so they made us kind of start valuing things. That's what the whole plan was for America, for us to value consumerism, and that's how we value ourselves. And then we had hip hop, and everybody's flashing and buying $1,000 shoes, and I got a whole room full of shoes that I'm gonna show you on the TV. Look at my collection. And so we got into this mindset that what matters is what we have and not what we know. And that's not true. What matters is what we know and how we can express what we know and how we can weaponize that in this political arena, because that's what the big money is. The big money is not, the big money is in budgets. The big money is not in whatever you are chasing right now. The big money is in that, what's this politics thing over here? Oh yeah, that's where all the money is. And it's all redistribution. You see them, did you see those, the farmers got that big payout or whatever because of the what's going on with China? It's always money. It's always money. Don't ever let nobody tell you we ain't got money. I'm going to 703. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi. This is Nick from VA.
Hey.
I got two things I want to go ahead and reiterate before I ask my question.
Okay.
The first is we lost the CBC a long time ago. I don't know if you looked up online, but their mission is for global black empowerment. Right, so it used to be focused on improving things for African American communities, but now it's switched to global black empowerment. And I don't understand why this isn't a big issue discussed at their CBC conference that they have every year to get that shift back to people who are here in this country. The second thing is the emphasis on Sheila Jackson Lee for HR 40 is because she's the only CBC member on that subcommittee. Remember, she was filled in for Charles. She was supposed to be the chair, but she had that scandal and had to step down.
Yeah, I remember that.
She's the only member on the subcommittee. However, the person who's the chair, Steve Cohen, he represents Memphis. Memphis is actually 66% black in that district, not minority, but black. So there is some angle. He's the one who was in Congress earlier this year handing out chicken.
What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I missed that. What happened with the chickens?
He was in, it was a session they had in Congress. I'm trying to remember what they called, but he had a bucket of fried chicken and was like handed out.
Oh, I know what you mean. He was calling bar chicken. Remember? He was calling bar chicken for not testifying. So he was passing out chicken. He came with a bucket of chicken. That's what you're talking about? Okay. I remember that.
Same one who's over that subcommittee that has to have the hearing for HR 40. So, I just wanted to make sure that that's why some of the emphasis is there. Even though it's actually moved to I guess, getting a hearing, but I don't see any of that on the bill tracking where it says it's supposed to have the hearing, nor do I see it on the subcommittee page. I saw the tweet.
Yeah, and somebody and a Congress member responded to it and said this is the day. So I wonder if there was a schedule change after that.
Come on, but if you go to the subcommittee page, they haven't released the schedules. But I don't see anything on it. So I don't know if they've invited people. I have that whole general question of how it's supposed to go, and it's probably going to be more than one hearing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be more than one hearing, but I'm wondering why it's not on the schedule, because he actually replied. It wasn't just somebody said. He replied back and with the date and everything. So I wonder why. It's not showing up on the schedule. That's interesting.
But I guess bring it back to a point. I have a lot of issues with HR 40.
Go ahead.
My first biggest is that it's just not resourced efficiently. But it's not enough money and staff to do what they're attempting to do in that bill. If you look at the September 11th Commission, they had 10 members, but they had a staff of 75, and they just looked through 10 years. And it still took them a couple of years. So to say you're going to fast forward through pretty much all of American history to cover everything, and you're going to do it with 12 people with no money left over or a very minimal staff is just crazy. So my bigger question is, the title of this video is what do we do next? So I'm from the standpoint of what actions next would we want to see. And then as far as people people leveraging to get on one common ground for certain changes that definitely need to happen for HR 40.
You right. You right, fam. I appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. I want to know what some other people think about this. This is a very interesting conversation. This is a very interesting conversation. This is a very interesting conversation. You know, one of the things that happens is that, like, even if Sheila Jackson Lee, like you talk about, I agree to her on that committee, the CBC. It says something about America too, that this has to be like a black thing. Like, you have to have it has to be a black person. But I will say the other thing too. Like, you one person sponsors, but like part of how a bill moves too is like if you can get powerful co-sponsors. And it says something that, like, and whether or not you can get those co-sponsors a lot of times depends on who is sponsoring. Like, whether or not you're able to get, like, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get a bunch of people. It's about, like, okay, who's sponsoring the bill? That's the question they all like. Okay, who's the sponsor? Okay, well, how do I feel about this person? Oh, okay. Or do I need this person? Because it's an exchange. If I sponsor this bill for this person, they're going to sponsor this bill for me. It's all a very complex exchange. But that's kind of what you look for when you look for whether or not a bill is capable of moving forward. Who is not only the sponsor, but who are the co-sponsors? How powerful are they? Do I like the sponsor? Do I like the key co-sponsors? How many co-sponsors do it have? Like, all these things let you know whether or not you're supposed to really, like, as a congressperson, pay attention to what just came up in front of you, or whether you're supposed to throw it in the trash. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. I'm going to 269. What's your name? Where you coming from? What's on your mind?
Yeah, my name's Dale calling from Battle Creek, Michigan. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, Dale. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I kind of fall under the category of ignorance on fire, but, I've been listening to you and Tone, for a couple of months now. And one thing that I've been doing through the years, like for almost 10 years, periodically, I've been calling in on Al Sharpton's show. I developed the skills of being able to get in and to be able to go ahead and talk to him. And 2 weeks ago, I got on, and I was able to talk to him, well, basically to talk about ADOS for about 3 minutes, and he didn't interrupt me.
Okay. Good.
I was able to go ahead, I was able to mention your name, Tone's name, ADOS.com.
Good.
My understanding of ADOS is that it's American Descendants of Slavery, and that we're looking at doing a justice action on our behalf for ADOS people only. It's not that we don't support other people that are looking for reparations, but they have their reparations, we have ours.
I think I heard your call too. Somebody sent me your call. It was a really good call. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Let me let you finish.
Well, I was able actually to get in twice. Sharpton wasn't on the second time, but I was able to go ahead and reiterate the aspect of the attacks by some of Sharpton's colleagues, commentators on MSNBC and CNN, basically claiming that ADOS was bots, and I basically was able to go ahead and dispute that, and was able to end off by stating in Tone's phrases in regards to ADOS, we're coming, So the thing is that I don't know if you want us as members of ADOS, feel that it's good to, like, when we hear negativity and it's going to get worse before it even begins to get better, to go ahead and call in on these shows, such as either Sharpton's or Carl Nelson's show,
Absolutely.
or even local shows in Detroit, where they're making negative, disparaging remarks about ADOS, is to go ahead and get back on them and shoot some facts there.
Well, I think you should, and I heard one of your calls. I didn't know there were two, but you did a very good job. I think if you can do that, and the thing is, Tony and I and the people, we've all given enough information to be able to do that. Some people have told me that they tried and they couldn't do it, but like, if you hear some stuff and from what you heard, that's wrong, that's not who we are, I think we should. I think we have to be loud. Like, the thing is, everybody else is being loud. I don't mind, You know, I don't think anybody, all these other people are real loud and they're real comfortable being loud and wrong all the time. And so, like, we have been doing this long enough to where we know the data, we know who we are, we know what we represent, to be forcefully and confident in that. You know what I mean? When you call in. And there's nothing wrong with that because other people are listening. You know, sometimes I think we think because the Breaking Brown and Tone Talk show, that like everybody knows. No, a lot of people have no idea. They have absolutely no idea. So, I mean, if you're around during that time and you can have that conversation and you know that you can engage successfully based on what you know, and a lot of times it's really not hard. You know what I mean? You may just not be practicing doing it. I think you should do it. I think these people are loud and wrong, and they're just basically trying to drive. They're basically anti-reparations, as far as I'm concerned. A lot of these people, in terms of how they move and how they talk.
Well, I tell you, you know, the only thing that I'm going to do from this point on is to do what I can to immerse myself into the data and the facts so that I can be as prepared as possible so that when I hear things, because I listen to talk radio a lot, whether it's from Detroit, Chicago, D.C., or wherever, and I just want to go ahead and be prepared to go ahead and to counteract their misinformation with facts and data, and to be able to go ahead and quote sources. That'll be my next step, is to be able to go ahead and quote sources and resources that they can go to back up my assertions, you know, so that, you know, I'm not out there looking stupid, and ADOS is not out there looking stupid based off, you know, something that I said. Other than that, I got to end with a compliment, because listening to you and Tone brought clarity in regards to my thinking, in regards to who I am and what I represent. And as far as I'm concerned, as to what Dr. Francis Cress Welsing was to us in regards to letting us know about black people, you're doing the same thing in the political realm for us, because you're definitely schooling us, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling in, fam. I appreciate it. And I appreciate that call. Thank you, fam. That was a really good, you just got to go. You just got, like, he just went. Like, when he called in, he was gone. He knew all, he was gone. He was moving. This is what it is. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. And blah, and blah. And you wrong about blah. Boom. That's it. Like, you get in. You get in. You know what it is. You got your point. Sometimes it's best to write down your point, but you don't got to look at it. I have a bunch of points here I don't look at. And I leave the show sometimes, be like, I sure didn't mean to say that. I sure did. But I'm just saying, you have your points and you have your answers, and you go. And you be confident in your stuff. We've been doing this long enough for you to be confident and know what you know. I'm going now to 256. 256, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, it's the political guy, 10 seconds. Calling from Decatur, Alabama.
Okay. What's up?
I was just calling to say that I don't understand, with all the data that's out there, how HR 40 is still so primitive. I understand it was a bill that was written in 1989, but someone should be Sheila Jackson Lee, should get in there and put some more into this legislation. It's very lacking in everything. I read it a couple of times before the show, but it really has nothing in it for us. Like, nothing that is in there is going to help us, like, right now, because it's just lacking with everything. Like, there's no teeth in the bill.
Yeah. And the thing is, if this was just a normal bill, I'd be like, well, they all short when but this isn't a normal bill. Like when you see, like, I put up that Lewis bill early on for a reason, that whatever one he had just introduced it has 92 pages. Like, you're giving people a framework. Like, don't nobody really know, like, what this is supposed to mean. People haven't really cared enough about us as a community to really know what it's supposed to be. Like, I think that's a great opportunity to put everything in there. It's not to say that, like, when you get, like, to me, you have to go above and beyond for this one, because what you're doing is making sure when it gets to subcommittee and committee, there's less room for error. Like, that's what you're trying to do. And I would even lay out different ways, like, you know, you want it, like, and I know all that, like, if you were doing it like Darity would come to the hearing, you would have all that, but I need a really strong skeletal structure here for them to come in with. Like, I understand it's gonna be short, but not this short. Because this is everything for us. I need some updates. Like, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. And I like how you put it, that we need to put it in eras from like post 1865 to the Reconstruction era, the Red Line, and all that type of stuff. I feel like that's lacking too, and that could be a major key in us, winning or losing the battle.
Yeah, because everybody said slavery was a long time ago. So the way you have to explicitly deconstruct how that's a lie. Like how this is the slavery and the crude disadvantage. This is not just slavery. Slavery is the beginning of the trauma and suffering and oppression. It's not the whole kit bag caboodle. You have to be able to explicitly lay that out, and you have to be explicitly if you're going to do the commission role, because part of the reason people do commissions is to have all this attention and stuff on it, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's not, but you have to be willing to invite all the people, because if you're going to do a commission, you got to pull the heartstrings too. You just can't have experts. You got to be pulling their heartstrings too. People still alive. Have them come talk about when the Klan rolled. All this kind of stuff. You got to bring it all in. The Klan stole our property. We had property over here. Or some random white guys. White family stole your stuff. All this stuff. You have to bring it all in. That's what, if you're going to do it like that in terms of commission, you got to be, it's going to be theater. It's not just, it's going to be experts and the theater. We're going to do a whole production. That's what commissions are. I mean, I'm just saying. But I'll let you finish up, fam.
And my last point, you had talked a while back, this is another point that needs to be put in. You had talked a while back about the Haitian nurses, and I asked my grandmother about that because she graduated in 1969, so she was alive in that era. And she told me about, how they were bringing in Haitian nurses and they wouldn't train people. And that's another thing that needs to be talked about, like the training and the opportunity loss that we didn't get.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. Thank you, fam. I appreciate you calling in. Yeah, we have to talk about that, because the thing is, when you look at American history from when we got here all the way to now, what you see is all of these opportunities to make us American that were shut off. All these opportunities. Okay, you need nurses. Hey, train all these ADOS women who are maids and all this stuff. Train them. Now we're gonna import them. You see Reconstruction. We talked about all the opportunities in Reconstruction to actually, to make us whole during that period, give us land. No, give it to the Confederates. Oh, we got all these military people who are here. No, they still got to come back home and not be nothing. They still got to come back home and not have nothing. This is from ADOS 101. Let me just read this to you real quick. Few if any. Hold on a second. In fact, few, if any, voluntary black immigrants outside of students were in the United States prior to the Immigration Nationality Act. As shown by the Smithsonian, before 1965, black people of foreign birth residing in the United States were nearly invisible. According to the 1960 census, their percentage of the population was to the right of the decimal point. Importantly, this pre-1965 group of black immigrants mostly originated from the Caribbean, and as such would have their own particular claims to make against European nations for the harms they suffered based on the slavery instituted within their Caribbean country and origin. Reparations for American chattel slavery would exclude black immigrant populations that voluntarily migrated to America. So what I'm trying to say to you is this. I don't even understand how we're having so much conversation about immigrants and immigration right now. To the right, you were to the right of the decimal point. You were not here. You're talking about before 65 in large numbers. Like, why are you trying to dominate this discussion? Or why are ADOS feeling like having the conversation dominated by immigrants is like immigration is a good thing? You voluntarily came here. We did not, and we inherited poverty and a caste system because of that. Be supportive. So anyway, I'm going to my next caller. I am going to 757. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette Cornell.
What's going on, Otis?
Well, I tell you, I'm going to try to be quick to get in and get out. I'm already on record telling you there's some other parts of that HR report that aren't any good. The structure of the commission, 7 people, you went over part of that. And 7 and 6 for the quorum. There's only 6 people, so business can be conducted without even the 6 activists and people with a history
of reparations work don't even have to be present for that commission to do its work. But there's some other things that we need to talk about too. Not having professionals in the room, not having people that are steeped into the economics of it, not having people that understand our quest for reparations is not just, quote, a check. It is to be set up and structured just as I said when I called in and got the wrath of Bruce Dixon brought down on me for saying, there is a perfect model for how to structure long-term generational reparations. It started the year before my birth. It is still going on today, and then that nation is called Israel. Since 1952, there has been a continuous stream of reparations for Jewish people who suffered about a 12-year continuation of their harm. We're talking 400 years. The other thing that you didn't touch on, because you're so kind and nice to people, that group, the National African American Reparations Commission, they actually have a clause where they want to have a trust that gets to disperse any money that might come out of reparations if they're in the room. This has never been anything more than what I suggested when I first told you, go to Encopa's page, look at the fact that they have inaccurate information that I personally brought to their attention, and they still refuse to change it. These people are not about the masses. When I look at people like Greg Carr, they give you an alphabet soup salad to tell you that you should believe him because of the position he sits in. You just put up on in your presentation some of the dumbest shit I've heard from anybody that has a degree, and I've met a lot of them in my 60-some years. A lot of people who actually earned a degree and can sit and talk to you intelligently, both in academia and to a layperson like myself. For I've learned a long time ago, if you're an expert at something and you cannot explain it on basically a 6th grade level, you're not the expert you think you are. There's a lot of difference between being able to recite facts from memory and rote, and being able to make an intelligent, informed, logical argument for something. And that's basically what you're saying about this H.R. 40. H.R. 40 was never written to be successful at getting reparations. What it has been written to do is so that they can do just what I told you I've done in the 3 years of research that I followed what I call the Northeast Corridor of Pan-Africanism. The Chicago Old Guard with Dr. Worrell and Dr. Winbush. Go to their pages and read the foolishness that they write. I don't care about saying words like they're foolish. I put up some things, I sent you some stuff. I was hoping you could put it up on the screen. Look at what they say to you, even in their 10-point plan, telling you what they did for reparations. They talk about it here on the continent, then explain to you that it's for a global effort. There is no logic in telling me that if I have a lawsuit in the county of York, that I should slip my black behind in Newport News and expect to get any kind of success. It is all about tomfoolery, and the last phrase I'm going to use, a common phrase. When I repeatedly listened to these people, confronted them on 4 or 5 different platforms, the most common phrase I heard from all of them was, all we need to do, what this reparations study gets through, is plug in our work. They not only want to be paid themselves, they're not even concerned with what the young lady talked about earlier. Having a competent staff that can navigate them through the process of getting actual reparations. They are all for self. I tell you, I see them on Facebook. I look at them. You don't waste time even communicating with these people anymore. They've been exposed. We have to concentrate on educating our people on how to talk intelligently, like the other young man that called into the show and told you. Recurring training, be informed, know your limitations, but one thing for sure, when you speak as a member of AD West, stop at the limit of your knowledge anybody prospering other than them. I'm going to leave it at that. Bless you, my sister. Keep doing the work. I wish I could be down there to help you with this. I spent a lot of time, myself personally, never ever expecting to be able to call and talk about this. But I got about 20 years of doing this under my belt, and I told you, I ran into first in Cobra when I was in Dallas, Texas, minding my own business. And because of the type of people that were trying to recruit me, is the reason I ran away from them. And I stand on running away from them.
All right.
Be good, bless the family, do the work.
Otis said do the work. All right, I appreciate you as always, Otis calling. I appreciate you as always. I want to read something to everybody. Now, you know, when we read the economics of reparations, we talk about the criteria, because when you talk about a claim, there has to be a criteria. Like if you say if there were a group of people who were made sick on a cruise ship, one of the criteria is going to be, were you on the cruise ship? And we have to validate that you were on the ship the day that everybody was fed that bad salmon or whatever. So I want you to listen to this criteria. An individual would have to provide reasonable documentation of at least one ancestor, this is ours, enslaved in the United States, and they would need to demonstrate they have identified as black, African American, colored, or Negro, established on established legal documents for at least 10 years prior to the onset of the program. No, in addition, we would add that at least one grandparent fulfills both prongs of the criteria if a person is biracial. Understand that. This came from Darity, but that last part is us double knotting, so that you don't have no Obama that tries to go back through. He identifies as black, but then goes back through his white parents. So you have to double knot that for them in a specific way. Now understand, in Cobra isn't online with the specific criteria. They don't have a specific criteria for reparations. They just have this carte blanche. It's not even up like, what is our criteria? That is unserious. When you don't have that criteria, it's not a reparations program. You're playing games. It's a hobby. Your hobby is politics. Or your hobby is playing politics. Like somebody's hobby is playing Monopoly. But that ain't your real money, and you ain't really going. This is a hobby. That is not serious. You have to have a criteria is a starting point for anything. I don't even care if you go to the doctor. If they're deciding whether or not you broke your ankle, as opposed to strained it, there's some criteria. You have to have criteria. If you're unwilling to have that criteria because you don't want to exclude anybody in the Black Liberation Movement, then you're unserious and you do not deserve to be in this space, and you really never did. And that's what we have to understand. I'm going to 732. 732, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's going on, Yvette? This is Chris calling from Jersey. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for taking my call. Real quick, we know the CBC isn't for us, right? Clearly, that's been made evident. You did the episode last week, and we talk about HR 40 today. I was looking at some recent research and some stuff that I was even doing back in college. We know that by 2030, over 50% of America is projected to be of Latino origin or heritage. So clearly the Democrats have made it clear that's who they're pivoting to for those long-term votes. Yeah. But with that in mind, I'm thinking about tonight in HR 40 specifically. I'm of the mindset, look, if Darity's not involved, you're not involved, Tone's not involved, that seals it for me as far as how serious Democrats are about this as far as the commission goes. You talked about another point in terms of just our involvement and Tone's involvement and your involvement, and it really boils down to this for me, like, we don't have enough of a groundswell at this point. Mm-hmm. We really don't have enough of a groundswell, and you said it. This falls on ADOS. This falls on us. Too many of us, I'm finding, outside of us who follow you, Yvette, and who follow Tone, too many of us are under this illusion that we recognize full citizenship. And it's like the other half is under this illusion or just mindset that because of America's racism and injustice, that there's no really interest in in embracing or pursuing full citizenship. And the battle has to be, I'm at the point like, look, the battle, it's on us. The battle really needs to be amongst us, our families, our communities. We do this 2 times a week with you, and it's like, all right, it's an echo chamber. We know this. We have the information. But how many of us are actually going amongst our communities, going amongst our churches, going amongst our congregations, going amongst those in our family, fighting those battles there? And Tone brought that up last week. It's like, you can't even get this across to your own family, but we're talking, Yvette, you need to do this, Yvette, you need to do that, Tone, you need to do this and that, and we can't even get these battles and these messages across to our family. So, I mean, that's for me where I'm kind of pivoting my focus. And I recently had that conversation with a lot of my family members. I said, look, the page is turning in America. I mean, we are about to face a huge shift in this country as we've known it. I mean, especially with the whole...
You mentioned something. I don't mean to interrupt you. Hold your thought, Carla. I don't mean to interrupt you, but you mentioned something very important. You said that like the Democratic Party is pivoting to like Latinos. It's bigger than that, honestly. I think the CBC is pivoting to Latinos too. And so what you find is that we're being left. And understand we're not being left to just be here and live. We're gonna be left to hold the bag of this poverty and slavery. That's what we're being left to hold. Like all this poverty and slavery and being the garbage disposal of America and all that disadvantage. We're gonna be left to hold that. That's in all of our. That's gonna be in all of our. It's already in our families. Nobody's gonna fix it, and we're gonna be the only ones holding it. Go ahead, Carl. I'm sorry.
Right. You're good. No, I agree with you fully. And I'm just saying, like, the battle. I've recently graduated, and I just see like Angela Rye is being flown around, and I know she's backed by Democratic strategists and different folks who are being flown around to these different college campuses, and they're spewing whatever rhetoric, this POC stuff, and we've got to look out for everybody, and they're sending their people out to win the hearts and minds of young Americans, young black folks, etc., to orient them politically and mentally for the future. And that's why, like I said, for me, that's where I'm starting to shift my focus is. I'm in my 20s. I'm talking to my peers. I'm talking to my family.
Wow.
And I told them, I said, look, do not come to me. I'm telling you now, do not come to me when this thing falls. I'm telling you now what's going on. I'm telling you now, we've got all the signs and symptoms of what's to come. Do not come to me because you don't want to listen and take heed to what I'm telling you now. I'm pointing you to the resources. I'm telling you about what's going on, trying to give you the information and the data, and it's still this boomer rhetoric that's passed down to some of our generation. But I'm like, look, I'm living it. I'm living it. And the biggest thing that you gave me is that I've been listening to you for a while, but I'm going to say this was in 2017. The biggest thing that you gave me that was like a burden being lifted off my back is when you said, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. And I was sitting there beating myself wondering, why am I not where my peers are at? Why am I in the financial position that I'm in? I'm just as smart, just as capable, just as talented, but I'm at a Fortune 500 company. I'm at a Fortune 100 company, and I'm sitting in the interview room, and then they see, oh, he's black. You know that you know that look. Yeah. You know, or whoa.
Your name didn't tell me that.
One thing. He sounds this way on the phone, and the name on the resume says one thing, but when he comes in and sits in front of us, oh. And it's like, why do I keep running against this wall? I'm not able to get this loan. Why am I continually running against these different walls? And so I just want to thank you on a personal level for that, for helping me understand and for that burden to be alleviated. That, no, it's not on me. I need to understand my positionality from a lineage standpoint, and that this reparations thing really, to me, this is the last really decider for us as a people. I mean, in my viewpoint, barring a miracle, if this doesn't get through, I really don't know. This thing is going to get ugly, and that's where I'm just pivoting to fight and try to work amongst my peers and the people in my immediate sphere of influence. And it's not just sitting and tuning in every week and doing this social media advocacy, which I do as well, which is important. But we have the information. We need to start with those in our immediate vicinity. And I'll leave it at that, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. That was a wonderful call. I appreciate you calling in. And it's not just it's and I listen. It's like, think about what he just said and think about what I said about the Latino voters, right? In terms of this is just about voting blocks. It's not as about discrimination. This is about voting blocks. You have to understand when I say that the Congressional Black Caucus is pivoting towards Latino voters. You have to understand this. Congresswoman Sewell, she has in Loudoun County black people in the black belt. The UN came down there and said they've never seen people in a first world country live as bad as these people are living. They're living in third world conditions. Those are our people. Those are ADOS people living in that black belt where their ancestors picked cotton. Sewell, a black congresswoman, during that time, before we got involved as AOS and started tweeting her, and we still not been successful in all of that, but before we started tweeting her, we actually got her to do something. But understand that she's a black congresswoman in this ADOS district, and they got feces. They don't have right plumbing. They don't. It's coming out the backyard. While this is going on, she's tweeting about DACA. Now we pulled up the demographics. You don't even have that many. You don't even have many Latinos in your district. But because that's where the party's pivoting, that's what you're doing. The whole party's pivoting that way, and they're trying to leave us with this slavery. All the disadvantage, they're trying to heap that on us and say, you own that, you live with that. We have moved on. We got a new group of brown people, and we have moved on away from you. And the burden that we have to bear, and we have to pick this up quick, because we have to speed up and understand the complexity and realize what we're about to do. Because while everybody else is being successful, somebody sent me a text of all the Indian CEOs in tech. So it's not a brown issue. I brought it up once before, but it was more than that I even knew. We're a bottom caste. This is not about like we're all fighting together. No, we're a bottom caste. We've been made that. And they're gonna leave us with that. They're gonna leave us with no running, with feces that go from your toilet to outside, while your congressperson fights for somebody else. That's what we're gonna be left with if we don't get this together and quick. We don't have. Ain't nobody got time for for everybody to be playing around. So I'm going to 919. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Miss Yvette, this is Al calling from Durham, North Carolina.
What's going on?
I'm all right. I appreciate the show tonight. I call from time to time. I was driving yesterday, and I saw in a neighborhood, mostly a white neighborhood, it said America is for immigrants. There was a sign posted in someone's yard, and I was like, ooh. Imagine the millions of others that think that way. And to pivot to the conversation tonight in reference to HR 40, I mean, it feels like the Truth Commission reconciliation that happened in South Africa, where it's just kumbaya, real nice and neat, and let's do this, and we'll still keep you oppressed, and we'll still keep you down, we'll still keep you locked down and shut out, but you don't have nothing coming your way. And it's at a point where I like where you guys made a point a while back. I think Tone made a point where he said it needs to be a HR 42.0 or something. It just needs that whole language of the whole piece needs to change. That commission needs to change. But my concern is this: it's just the influence of what's going on. And then I recently, just listening to other podcasts and just reading and stuff and looking at the acquisitions of what Google has mentioned about certain pieces, like, even when you speak about something that's definitely we know is factual, but if it doesn't agree with the dominant society's agenda, then we shut you off. Or looking at what Facebook did a few weeks ago, that concerns me because, we don't have time. Yeah. We don't have the time, and you're not having that time. How do we pivot? How do we aggregate more resources? Because, like you mentioned some weeks ago, last week, it's a devastating when you're struggling to get 70,000 subs. That's a problem because it lets you know our internal politics are all, disjointed and not really focused. I try to do it like the last caller said in your household. I let my girlfriend, I had her read Outliers. I'm one guy who will always bring up that book Outlier because I think you got to start from somewhere.
It really hits for timing. When you want to understand timing, that's the book.
Go ahead, man.
No, I said if you want to understand timing, that's
you
it.
know, and the timing, he mentioned something good. I told her to reach out to Six and we talk about how in Kentucky, and I kind of gave her some framework. Just, she really has the focus like a lot of our people don't to, study and look into this. And she's a bullet girl. I'm trying to break that.
Good luck.
But she loves me. She cares about me, and it's an intertwined thing. But it's time, and I get a little upset because I'm like, girl, sometimes y'all just not. When you get up with the girls, you're not really talking about the truth. Y'all do so much. You got a power to influence, but you're really not doing the work when you have that aggregate of young African American, ADOS people around you to do that kind of work, and you're talking about things that are just not. I mean, they're nice, but you're not really talking about the internal politics that needs to be changed. But lastly, just to finish, I just feel like we gonna have to. Start outsourcing, guys. I know. Everyone is palatable to certain people, but as for me, I learned so much from you guys, but I kind of take it to another level, learn here, go there.
Yeah,
I'm not going to talk about names that I do choose to do, but I think sometimes, if you want to listen to Miss Yvette or you want to listen to Tom, maybe there's certain types of tenure or some types of things you want to hear, but, start outsourcing our people to other channels that may speak on the same language and what this is all about, so you can get your internal politics right. And that's the problem.
Yeah, and there are good podcasts out there too. You can go and that's free. Like that's the thing. Like you have to take advantage of your free. Like there are history podcasts that deal with that. At some point maybe I'll go through my top. I did a list of podcasts a while ago, but I think at some point maybe I'll go through like my top 10 podcasts that are like history or historical podcasts, totally free. For you to listen to it, get some education from.
Totally free, man. But we just, keep up the work, Auntie. I'm gonna try to get to Cincinnati to get to Louisville at the goal. So
all right. We look forward.
I'm gonna make it there, man. I'm gonna make it there. But we're gonna just keep on fighting. Once again, guys, this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon. This is a process.
But
if you have children, just think about their children and grandchildren and look at the work. I know it's painful sometimes, but think about the good win we had in Oregon. Think about what they did about that bill, calling 911 calls, just false calls, and we knew where that targeted. They targeted ADOS, that targeted us. So you got to kind of look at those type of little victories here and there, and just look about what's going on. Some places I know they're doing away with cash bonds and stuff like that. Those are victories. Those are little victories. If you want to give you something to keep you going, It's not over yet, but like you said, it starts locally and goes up to the top. So let's look at those wins as something good and be aware of the world around us, America around us, and just keep going, guys. That's all I want to say.
I appreciate it, fam. I appreciate it, and not just that. And I appreciate what he said about doing what you got to do to kind of keep yourself upbeat and that kind of thing. But not just that, fam. Like at the end of the day, at the end of the day, or the end of your life, don't you want to look back and think that my life has some kind of meaning? Who wants to look back and just be like, oh, those are some good shoes, and I had a nice car, and I had a hot girlfriend or a hot boyfriend or a good wife. I had a good family. Yeah, but what did you do with that family? What did you teach that family? What did that family learn from you about how to live in terms of their values, in terms of how to be a part of this collective? Where did they learn about their history and their traditions that they're going to be passed down? There's a lot that goes with all of that. You have to have a life of meaning and fighting for your group. There's a reason why, even if you think about movies and stuff, there's a reason why if you watch all of that, there's a reason why some of the best movies and film have people in a particular group fighting for that group. It'll be like an epic hero story. There's a reason for that, because that's the highest value to have. I don't know what you're doing in this life if that's not part of what you want to do with this life and how you want to have peace when you go, I don't know I fought that fight. I don't know what you're saying. I fought that fight. And you look at what's happening in California, how you have to fight that fight. So that California approves health care for immigrants. I saw on the news, but do you know how there was a story I put up probably a few months ago, and that's about one of the most shocking things. And I've seen the homeless in LA. About the shocking thing about the majority of them being black. So you don't have money to get the black homeless off the street, but you have money to like pay for this. That's what we're up against. And so I'm going to my last call. I am going to 929. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, Yvette. How are you? This is Bernadette.
What's going on, Bernadette?
From the Bronx. How you doing tonight?
I'm pretty good. How about
I'm
you?
I made it too. I'm sitting here listening to everything y'all talking about, and it is the truth. We got to fight like we never fought before. I'm just sitting here wondering about the HR 40 and how it's going, and what progress have we made. And when you read the wording or the verbiage in there, and nowhere does it say ADOS. And I'm kind of trying to figure out who coined us as an African and American. Why did they turn around and use black? We went from black, Negro, this, that, and the third, all the way to African American. Was it so that they knew from the way that we were mistreated back in the past that things were going to come to pass and we were going to be fighting for reparations, and they wanted to include everybody in the bucket? You know what I mean? I'm sitting here really wondering, like, why were we named African American?
Yeah, because you make hold on, you make a good point. It would seem that to call us African American would be something that happened first, like because early on when we first got here, because you still have a memory of that, like the people who when you first got here you had a memory of where you came from. So it would seem like maybe that like after and sometime after that too, like maybe you would get called that. Like even further along you went, you might have got called African American. It would seem like you would kind of, as your identity, became something else. It would seem that like that would fall away, and then you be called colored and Negro and all that other stuff. I think Reverend Jackson coined that, but after it's kind of interesting that after we get all the way here, then all the way, then you get called African. We weren't called African like before. We were called Negro and colored and all kinds of stuff. NIGG,
Back in the day, that's what the names they were given to us on our censuses and everything, all that stuff. It was no African this or that. Now I'm just sitting here trying to put two and two together. Now all of a sudden we're African, but our ancestors, we are descendants of our ancestors, yes. But I would consider, like, with the movement that we're in right now, I would say I'm so glad that you specifically gave us some type of name, because it's in other words, it looks like everybody is included in what we're trying to fight for, which is our reparation for a specific claim for us. I'm glad you did it. Mm-hmm. I think it was genius. I really do.
Like,
yes. Well, I had to call just to say hi and check up on y'all and see how y'all doing.
We good. The family.
I'm always here listening and tuning in.
All right.
Trying to gain knowledge from everything.
I appreciate you, fam. I appreciate you. And the thing about it is, I'll let you go, fam, because we got to head out of here. But the thing about it is, one of the things is because we had to anchor ourselves. The name is essential in terms of creating an identity, because we have to anchor ourselves in something other than a continent with 54 countries. That's not going to work, and it's not who we are. Like, you can't unring the bell. You can't unring the bell of mixedness. You can't unring the bell of like women getting raped, our women getting raped, and like what that brought. You can't unring that bell and just like be like, I'm African. No, you became something different, and you were in a different country, and this is the only country you've ever known, and it's the only country your mom and daddy ever knew, and it's the only country your grandmom and granddaddy ever knew. If you're ADOS, most ADOS people have all their grandparents ADOS. So like, what that means for you is that you can't accept like some kind of identity of a continent that just has a flag of RBG. That's not who we are. It doesn't mean you don't have solidarity with that group. That doesn't mean you want to fight against their. That doesn't mean that. That doesn't mean none of that. It doesn't mean that. It just means that like who you are, you're anchored here. We've been anchored here for generations. It's time to give up this ghost of somewhere else. And so once you become anchored, that's why I tell everybody all the time, this isn't about Yvette. This is about Ortone. This is an identity. And you can't move that identity now. It's here. It's here. It's stuck. Because once you understand it, and then once you understand also, wait a minute, we have we have a very rich history in this country. We don't got nothing to be ashamed of. We lucky to be alive. And we're alive because we fought to be alive. And people are benefiting from that fight. There's no shame in this. There's no shame in who we are. So I think that's a really big part of what we're doing. I want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. We're at the 2-hour, 10-minute mark. So I apologize if you're still on the line. We're not going to be able to make it tonight. Do not forget how the Irish became white. That August 1st, that's a Thursday. We will be reading that book. Do not forget that. Please go to subscribetobrown.com and add your name to my mail list if you have not done that. Please do that. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you have not hit that notifications button with that bell, please hit that bell so that you know when I go live. You might have forgotten. Please finish your libation. You're not going to have libations going into the midnight hour. You have to go to bed unless you're working. But in that case, make sure your libation is something that peps you up, keeps you fresh. No chamomile. So fam, until next time, please take care of yourselves. Do the work. Do not let these people frustrate you. Do not do it. It's not worth it. Don't let anybody make you feel any kind of way you don't want to feel. Don't let nobody do it. They try to do it to you. They just trolls. Don't let them bother you. Get a good night rest, fam, and we will talk soon.